Hi, so I haven't done a live board repair video in a while. You may have noticed that I've been going through all of my older edited videos, and not edited videos, but I've been going through my old recordings and editing them rather than doing some new recordings. So I haven't done a live board repair video in a while, but we're going to get to one with this board right here. We're going to try to figure out what's going on with it, and I'm going to explain it to you as with all of these board repairs live on camera. So this is a 15-inch Retina from about 2013, 2014, and the issue with it when we go to plug it in is that you get a light on the charger, but it doesn't turn on. So we're going to go over fixing it so that it does turn on. So what I always say is that you should take a quick look over the board before you turn your brain on. This is a concept that I think I've been explaining to a lot of the students that come for the tutoring, but it's something that I don't think I've been getting across properly to the people who actually watch the channel. So I like to do something called brain on, brain off. So one of the ways that I deal with the way my business works, so as I've explained in some of the prior videos, I'm the only person here doing all the board repairs. My years of attempts at finding somebody qualified have all usually failed, with either people lying about their experience or coming for training and then within 1 to 6 weeks running away screaming at the horror of doing my job or working for me. Anyway, so I do all of the work here, and the way that I'm able to get all of that done and the way that I'm able to not burn myself out is I go back and forth between brain on and brain off. So in order to not get tired, I try to spend as much time as I can on what I call the brain off mode, where I don't have a schematic open, I'm not thinking about which power rail comes first or what the sequence of signals are, or even just looking for things on a schematic. I really try to limit using my brain until I absolutely need to. So I do a lot of work in this mode called brain off, where I'm not necessarily thinking as I'm going through what it is that I need to do. So let's go through that with this board. So the first thing that I do is I look over the board to see if there's a spill. Because even though most people come in saying, I've never spilled something, there's this kind of thing where they think that we're the Apple Store. You see, it's like people are kind of used to lying because they think if they lie, they'll get something for free or that it'll be covered. And it's just kind of something that I think is ingrained in people's heads, and they carry over into these situations where there is where there's no chance of warranty. I don't really care if the issue with the machine was a liquid spill or if the issue with the machine is something else. I'm going to charge you anyway. But one of the most common things you're going to hear is that I didn't spill anything. No, I didn't spill anything. And this person was really adamant that they had never spilled something on their machine, even though it smelled like Starbucks. But no, not me. Never! So the first thing I'm going to do is do what Dr. House says and not believe them. We're going to look and see if, as House says, if everybody lies. So let's take a look at this under the microscope. And my microscope looks funny. Motherfucking piece of shit. So let's see. Are you going to look good when I plug you back in? Turn you on? We get... What the fuck is this shit? Alright, so let's try unplugging that. Here we go. This looks a lot better. I really have no right to bitch. Open Broadcaster is free, and being free, you know, it's going to do some silly shit sometimes. Let me just make sure that it's in focus for me. Now I'm going to make sure that it's in focus for you. And we're going to set it up, and we're going to go through this board. So you tell me if you see anything that looks a little out of what you would usually perceive as ordinary. So we're going to go through. No spill. Maybe the person's right. Maybe they're not lying after all. Maybe I am just being an asshole. Customers don't lie, man. They never make stuff up. Okay, we're going to go to the other side of the board. I feel like the noises that grade A under A makes can apply to so many things in life. And here, what? I just see his little stick figures going, what do you mean there's no water damage, mate? Fuck you, mate. I would pay good money to watch grade A under A do board repair. I really would. Like, I've never given Patreon money before, but if grade A under A were willing to do component level motherboard repair and deal with some of the stuff that I do, I would pay good money. I would pay good money to see. You know what's interesting lately? By the way, for those of you that keep asking what it is I'm putting on there, that's called Flux. if you're new to the channel, Flux helps solder flow. This is the Flux that I use. Come on, focus on me, camera. There we go. It's trying to focus on my face, so I figured if I put my face right next to the solder Flux, you'll be able to see it. There we go. So this helps solder flow, and the thing about this is it also is great for cleaning. So the whole idea behind this is it's going to clean any of the junk that's on the board that's going to keep it from making a proper solder joint. But also, what this is going to do is also going to help me in cleaning away that dirt. So let's say I take this board and I put it directly in the ultrasonic cleaner. Let's say there's a little bit of that solder joint that's just barely holding on. There's a little bit of junk left. The ultrasonic cleaner is going to wash that away. But if I reflow it in a place first, then when I go to clean it, I'm going to clean the corrosion off, but I'm not going to fuck up the solder joint. So it's just that's why what I do now is I do a bit of a cleaning with the flux and everything. First, I try to fix the board first and ultrasonic it at the end. The reason we were doing ultrasonicking first before was because I had several people working here that did not do board repair that would do whatever they could to make it work again before it got to me. So in that workflow, it made a lot more sense in that scenario to have, it made a lot more sense within that scenario to have somebody ultrasonic at first. But since I'm the one who's both disassembling the machine now and also doing the board repair, it makes a lot more sense for me to just go through it like this because I know it's going to make my life easier. Again, if it's ultrasonic first, I'm not going to see that there's damage there. I'm going to have to go through and measure every single power rail, which means having brain on. I don't want to keep my brain on. I want to be like, I want to be like the people that don't use their brain and make money anyway. So that's what I'm doing here. So just heating away, and now I can get a little bit of a better view of what's going on there. Now remember, brain off. I'm not going to look up what any of those things do. Brain is off, baby. So I know what the original cause of failure was, because one of the things that I got trolled on with that Reddit video is, if you don't know what the cause is, then how are you actually going to properly fix the problem? Again, for those of you that watch the channel, you guys know that I go through and I look for what actually caused it, and I explained it in all my videos that are actually longer. That was the one video that I did that was short, and that's why I don't do short videos on this channel, because I don't want to cheat people out of information. So, but in that video, it wasn't liquid to the motherboard. The motherboard wasn't liquid damage, but the trackpad had a little bit of liquid on it, and that caused the board shit to happen. But here, I already know what the cause was, so I know that the issue with the board was something related to water. So the first thing I'm going to try to do here is I'm going to try to bring back this. See this pad over here? People would say that that pad is blown. Lewis, you got to get a pad repair kit. Why aren't you fixing boards properly with a pad repair kit? Why? Because I just fixed it in 5 seconds. Bam. Magic, mofo. Magic. So if I had a guess, I would say Actually, honestly, I don't even know what that is. I'm guessing that one of these up here, where power is coming into the IC. I don't know what that thing is for. You know what? I'm not even going to look it up. I'm genuinely not going to look it up because I don't care. We're in brain off mode here. Brain off mode is great because you get to save. Because the thing is, if I can fix this without using my brain, then that means that I get to save my brain for the ones that matter. And I've noticed I'm really at a point where I have to save as much of my brain power as I can. Because I'm not finding a replacement to me anytime soon. I've been getting more serious over the past month or two about finding a replacement to myself. Can't do your job forever. But man, it is hard. It is a challenge. As I always say. Great, I fucking stole the component I need from this board. I'm a thief. As I always say, the people who can do the type of work that I'm doing here are the people that are employed at the $200,000 or $150,000 a year jobs, and the people who will work for the salaries that this business will support. They look at the screen, they look at what I'm doing, and they nod, and they nod, and they go, oh yeah. And then I put them in front of something, and it's over. It's like, what? And then I cry. Now, I'm not going to get too crazy about putting them on perfectly, because as I have to heat each one to solder it on there, I'm going to wind up reflowing the one from right before it, so I'll be able to flow it into place just fine. So when I go to solder the last one, that's when I'm going to go over all of them and flow them into place. See, all I really care about now is getting them down on the board in a manner where they stick where they're supposed to. It's all about coming up with tactics. How can you deal with the things that make you not great at your job? So it makes me not good at my job. My soldering is atrocious. But it doesn't matter. I'm going to make this shit look like factory. Fucking... It's how you get around your flaws and imperfections that define you. It's not the flaw or the imperfection. You think I'm going to let the fact that my hands don't listen to my brain fuck up my ability to do my job? Fuck out of here. I'm not going to let my brain win. I'll even do it left-handed if I have to. Just gonna... And that bottom capacitor could get flown into place. Even though it looks right now, I know that it's sitting a little bit high on the right side. And you can't see that from this angle in the microscope. But you might see it if I tap on it. Actually, it wasn't sitting high. That's just me being a freak with the OCD. Now the middle resistor there on the right side could look a little bit nicer. Just wait for this thing to beep here. This is going to beep in a second. And we go here and bam. Sexy as hell. And still no fan spin. You mean I gotta use my brain? Seriously? That's fucking cruel. Oh well. Okay, it was worth a shot. It was worth a shot. It was worth it. So now I'm just gonna have to open the board view and I'm gonna have to actually think. You ruined my day, motherboard. You got my hopes up. Okay, so this is for the GPU frame buffer power supply, which I'm not really that concerned with right now because it doesn't turn on. So now we're just going to go to some basic troubleshooting here, which is going to be troubleshooting power rails, and we're going to try to figure out why it doesn't turn on. So anytime we have a no power issue, what I do is I go to the page that has all the power rails listed, and we're going to go from there. So which page here is going to have my power rails listed? Come on, you can do it. Let's see, is this an old enough schematic that it's going to be listed on page 7? Is this one of those schematics where it's on page 70? That's a perfect page to put the power rails. Let's put it on page 81, the first thing that you got to check on the schematic. Thank you, Apple. So the first thing that we have to check here is PP Bus G3 Hot. So on this new board view program, if I want to find PP Bus G3 Hot, oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. I love it. Now, keep in mind, I know that I have PP3V42, which is the first rail you're supposed to check. I know that I have that because the light is on the charger. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to check for P-Bus G3 Hot. You can't see the multimeter because of the camera angle. Oh, well, you'll just have to... Here. You can barely see it. There you go. So we do this. I'll get a video employee by the time, once I get somebody to actually do this stuff. 0.8 volts. 0.8 volts. Okay, so now we've checked the ends of the circuit and we have 0.8 volts instead of 12.6. So now I'm going to check for a short to ground. We turn the multimeter to ohms. Then we go into diode mode. And now I pick my red probe, put it on grounds, and my black probe and put it on PP bus G3 hot. And what do you know? We have a direct short to ground. So what are we going to do when we have a direct short to ground? We have a direct short to ground. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run power into the system and then see if after I run power into the system using my bench power supply, if anything gets hot and what gets hot, and that's going to tell me what's wrong. So I'm going to get my bench power supply that's sitting behind me, my HP6542A. I'm going to solder this onto the motherboard right now. So I'm just going to do this. Put a little bit of solder on a screw hole. This is the wrong iron to be doing this with since this is a micro pencil, but the micro pencil is really not feeling what I'm trying to do with it. The micro pencil is not feeling this at all. Why are you trying to solder a huge ground plane with a little micro pencil? Oh well. You're going to go whether you like it or not. I don't need a perfect joint for this. It's not like I'm going to plan on keeping it there. Then I'm going to solder the... Let's see. I'm going to solder the positive ends of the power supply onto here. Now here's one of the things with short detection on PP bus G3 hot is you have to realize that PP bus G3 hot powers the buck converter that makes power for the CPU and GPU, which work on something approximately around 1 volt. So the reason that I'm going to start short detection on this line with a very low voltage is if one of the MOSFETs providing the CPU with power is blown. If that's the case, if that's what's going on here, and I just run power through the board at like 5 or 10 volts because it's a 12-volt line, and the MOSFET is shorted, that means that the power from the MOSFET is going to go directly to the CPU if the MOSFET is shorted, and then I send 12 volts to my CPU and my board is fucked. And I don't want to do that. All right, so I got the power supply on and got the amperage set to a high amperage, and current is set to 1 volt. And my wires are not even plugged into my power supply. Great. Okay, so I've put a volt into the board, and now I'm going to try to see what gets hot. Now, the first thing I ensure is that the CPU is not even getting remotely warm, or the GPU, before I up the voltage or do anything else. So CPU, GPU, PCH, any of that stuff, I want to make sure any of the large chips are not getting hot. And once that's the case, then I can go a little higher. Lewis, buy a thermal camera. Lewis, buy a thermal camera. Lewis, buy a thermal camera. Lewis will buy a thermal camera when you're not paying like fucking $600 for the resolution of a Game Boy. I have just something against getting ripped off. I don't have it in me to get ripped off. Oh, yeah, the thermal camera, yeah, fine, cool. Give me 1080p for like $400 in good quality and I'll buy it. But again, every thermal camera that I've tried so far has been just complete fucking dog shit. I mean, just really, like every camera that I've tried, it's just always the same type of bullshit. It's some shit where it's like, I see the board is this big, and the yellow dot or the orange dot is this big. What good does that do me, you know? Absolutely nothing. It's just fucking pointless. Like, I would buy it if it made the job easier. It's just, man. Yeah, I'm not against the idea of a thermal camera. I'm against the idea of spending money on a thermal camera when we're still at this point where thermal cameras are just shit. Anyway. Now, here's one thing I want to point out to you. Yeah? Do you see where... Here's the thing where you wouldn't even need a thermal camera where your eyes would suffice. So see this? See this solder that's kind of popped out? You see what this tells me? This here tells me that this had something go on to it, even if I wasn't actually running voltage through this particular motherboard. So I'm just going to stop the voltage right now, and I'm going to see what that thing is for, but I'm pretty certain that that's our problem. So let's just turn on the board view software. Ah, you're seeing my desktop, and you're seeing my drive and the title of a video that I haven't released yet. Yeah. Oh, noes. And you see the IP address of a backup server. I'm going to get hacksorted. Hacksorted. Hacksord. Hacks. H-A-X. So it's this little mofo. Q8760. Q8760. Okay, so this is all coming into play now. So the little resistors that died were this one and this stuff here, which creates GPU frame buffer. Now this creates GPU frame buffer from using this MOSFET, and if I had to guess, I would say that this MOSFET is shorted, at least the top section of it, not the bottom section, because the graphics chip never actually got hot. So that means that maybe the bottom one is shorted. Who the fuck knows? Anyway, so something over here is fucked up. And there's a good chance that the graphics chip is not dead. Now this comes from this, and this comes from PP Bus G3 Hot. So this is all making sense now. Alright, this is all making some good sense. Alright, so now here's the thing with buck converters. If this is shorted, that means that it probably sent 12 volts to this, which made this stay on, which then caused this to die, and this then caused this to die. So the whole thing is I have to replace these as a team. If I replace this without replacing this, this will be dead. It will tell this to be on all the time, which will then cause this to send too much power to this, and they will just die. So if you look at my video on why newbies suck at repairing the CPU V-core circuit, this will all make sense in context. So the whole idea with a buck converter is you have to replace both the controller IC and the top and the bottom MOSFET, or else you're just torturing yourself. So let's go over here and shove this off the board, and I'm pretty sure that my short circuit is then going to go away. Let's just get my fume extractor over here, get it nice and close. Bonus if you don't burn the fan connector. Not burning the fan connector would be a bonus. You get extra points for that. Okay. I'm not about to try and clear MOSFET pads for GPU frame buffer with a micro pencil iron. So I'm going to plug my standard iron in there. Get my wick in place. Here, wick. Here, wick. Here, wicky, 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 wicky. Where are you, wick? Come here, wick. Where'd you go? Here we go. New wick. Gut wick. I think that's Chinese for good, because there's all these little Chinese symbols on the front of it. But it's really good stuff. That's why I think G-O-O-T is Chinese for good. It's good to know a little bit of the language if you're buying from vendors that sell things in another language. I'm never going to forget, there's this one vendor I don't buy from anymore. And I talked about that in another video. And there was, remember, there was unpacking boxes one time, and this one guy, back when we actually sold parts, came by to buy some stuff. And he looks at the box, and he's Chinese, and he's just fucking laughing his ass off. He finally asked him, like, what the fuck are you so giddy about? And he said, the box, well, you're opening a box that's labeled shit. And I thought he was kidding, and we opened the box to use the parts, and most of them didn't work. So I'm guessing that the guy was right. The guy, you know, pretty much wrote shit on the box in Chinese, and actually sold us that stuff. Just one of the things to think about. All right, so this is not exactly the ideal tip to do this. You should use one of those beveled tips if you're going to do any type of wicking. The reason I'm using this is because my beveled tip got destroyed, so I have to make do with what I have. This is not the ideal tip for what I'm doing, but again, sometimes, man, you want to be the one to tell the customer they gotta wait because a tip got destroyed, or do you just want to make do with what you have? You figure out how to make do with what you have, right? And you do your best to not touch the capacitor that's to the right. That's, what the fuck? You're the wick I was just looking for before, and you were sitting on my desk this entire time. Mofo. Alright, so... some light tinning. What a crowded space. Anytime you see that Hershey's Kiss thing, you have to go over your joint again. I got a couple of Hershey's Kisses there. Because the angle here is not great. This is actually a shit angle. Shit angle to work with. Oh well. It's something that's going to get bashed directly onto the board anyway. Let's get some flux. Get my alternate board. Pray that I haven't stolen that piece yet. Okay, great. I haven't stolen that piece yet. Preheat the board a little bit. Clean off my tweezer. Yeah, tweezer still has some junk on it. Remember, if you don't preheat the board, you can be heating the chip and burning the chip, but the board is going to be absorbing the heat if the board is cold. You have to saturate the board with heat, and then when you go in to remove the chip, it's going to come off nice and easy because the board, the pads on the board are not cold. But if the pads on the board are cold, then you're kind of fucked. There we go. Comes off nicely. Louis, are you using a part from a donor board to fix something? Yes, I am. Come and catch me, repair police. You come and catch me, YouTube tech police. Oh yeah, I'm doing it. Louis, I can't believe you don't have every single component for every single motherboard made in the past 10 years immediately in stock as a small business. How dare you? Oh, how fucking dare I indeed. How fucking dare I indeed. Okay, there we go. It's in a place. I move it around a little bit, but it's not flat on the board. So then, once it dries, I press on the top. Now I know I'm not going to move it around, but it's flat in place. Then I push down, and all the excess solder that's on the pads is going to magically go away. The little solder ball that flew away is not getting past me. I'm catching you, mofo. Not going to have runaway solder balls inside of my machine. And we're just going to pick up all the stuff that came out the side. So it looks nice and clean and pretty and sexy. Not like that iMac video I uploaded. So you, no runaway solder balls, no runaway solder balls. This is such a shit angle to work with. Alright. Yeah. Is what it is. And we go under the bottom of the machine. We're going to replace that buck controller IC. Even if it managed to be good right now, it may not be good into the future. I don't trust it because I know that a FET in front of it shorted. And it was... So there's no need. If you want a customer to come back immediately, the best thing that you can do is half fix their machine. A lot of people go, Lewis, I don't want to watch these long videos. I don't want to watch long videos. I don't want to watch long videos. And then I release a video that's 7 minutes long, and then it's all, Lewis, where's the primary fault? Hey, Lewis, what is the primary fault? Hey, Lewis, you didn't explain everything. Yeah. One thing I realized is you should never try to make people on YouTube happy. If you're making YouTube videos, I would suggest that you make them for yourself. And if people enjoy them, that's great. And if they don't, then they don't. But if you try to make YouTube videos for other people, it's never going to work. You're never going to make other people happy. Just make stuff that you think is cool content, and if others don't like it, at the very least you can live with the fact that you were true to yourself. I will most likely never be a person that does 3-minute videos, just 3 to 5 minutes. It's not happening. It's not me. If you're looking for those videos, then let me just tell you now that you're definitely on the wrong channel. I just wouldn't want anybody to waste time on the wrong channel if they don't have to. Alrighty. Oh, that is a sexy bunch of pads right there. Notice I'm not going nuts to make sure every single one is the same size. I just want to make sure there's a decent sized bump on all of them. Now we're going to remove that from the donor board. Okay, it should be hot enough to come off. Come on, tweezer. Tweezer, good tweezer. All right, here we go. Bam. I gotta place this. Go, mofo. Okay, we go to place the IC. Heat. You know, there's no rush. I see a lot of people I try to train, they're like, they're running on the chip as fast as they can. No rush, Mo. No rush, man. No rush. We heat from far away, and you see all the flux I put? You see all the excess? There's a reason for that. We're going to wait for it to flow away. And once that excess flows away, and you can only see a little ripple amount around every side of the chip, I'll show you what I mean by that in a second. We're going to heat it until you only see this tiny little amount for about 1 or 2 millimeters outside the chip. So once you can see the puddle of flux is isolated to 1 or 2 millimeters outside the chip, then that's when I go in close, and bam, it flows right into place. See that? Now, I go far away again. I push down on the chip. Once the surface tension has put it into place, I heat it again. I push down so that it's flat on the board and making a good connection. Now I'm done. And I left a little mark on the outside of the chip, but that's totally fine. It's probably going to piss off a couple of engineers, but oh well. That's part of my fun on this channel. You have to piss off engineers. They'll just go over the joins. Da, 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 da. Ugh, the hands required to do this job. I can't wait to find a replacement for myself. I am giddy. We'll see how that goes, though. Alright, so let's see. Is my short gone? If I inject voltage, let's put this power supply to 0.8 volts. And I see that it's 0 amps are being used. So I'm going to plug this in. And let's see if I get a fan to spin. Okay. I get a light. And I get a fan spin. And you know what? Just because there's a really small chance that 12 volts went to my GPU. I'm going to make sure that it actually gives you a picture on the screen before I get all excited. I'm going to disconnect the power supply. Disconnect the power supply from the board. And let's see if I get a picture on the screen. Again, it's just one of those things when there's a 50-50 chance, a 50% chance that 12 volts went to the GPU. We always test these things, but I want to actually just show you on camera, because I know there are some people that are going to go, what? Grade A under A. There are people who are going to give me the grade A under A. What, man? You didn't even check that, and you call this a finished repair video? Kick off the air filter. What? Okay, so we're just going to plug in the bare minimum here. So I'm going to plug in a DC in board. I'm going to plug in a screen. And I'm going to see if the screen shows me any sign that this thing actually works. And if it does, then I can clean the flux off, reassemble, run ASD, test in my OS, and all that other boring shit that gets done off camera, because that's just, frankly, it's just boring. You want to see me sit here and reassemble stuff and run ASD? That's a yawn fest right there. That's a total yawn fest. So I'm going to do this. Plug my DC in board in. Make sure nothing metal is touching where it shouldn't. Get you in there. Okay. Okay, it turns on. Okay, I get a light on the screen, and oh well. 12 volts to the GPU. That's exactly what happened to this thing. So I was running something like 1 volt with my power supply to see what got hot, but it doesn't matter, because when that FET did what that FET did, it sent 12 volts to the GPU frame buffer and also the VRAM. So, knowing that all the GPUs I can buy for this board are $50 to $60 and coming from vendors in China, that, and here's the thing with this, like, you think, most people are like, Lewis, why don't you just buy a GPU? If I could buy the GPU from NVIDIA, I'd buy it. But I'm not. I'm going to buy a GPU from some dude that's either ripping it off a dead board or taking it from a spool. And here's the thing with that spool. Here's what I want you to understand, is that the spool is, where did he get that spool from? Oh, I spilled my fucking drink on my shirt. I just noticed in the camera. This is why I can't wear white shirts. I can't be trusted with anything normal. I wind up spilling crap all over myself. The thing is, with this, is if I could buy that from NVIDIA, I would be happy to take the time to solder a new one on, because it's about a 40 or 50-minute job, and I am no fix, no pay. But if NVIDIA and AMD do not sell those chipsets to people, where do you think that crap comes from? It comes from the back of a truck. Somebody sells the rejects, or the ones that were binned as junk. So, you know, have you ever heard of this whole idea of processor binning? The whole idea being that, you know, there's no such thing as a 3.3, a 3.5, and a 4 gigahertz processor. They try to make a bunch of 4 gigahertz processors, and the ones that fail at 4 gigahertz, they test them again at 3.5 or 3.3, and if they pass that, then they get released that way. Well, what happens is, here's my guess, is that a lot of the processors or the graphics chips that won't even work at the normal speeds in some way, shape, or form are the ones that for some reason failed their binning test are the ones that get sold. And the reason is because I've done enough of them to know they just don't last as long as the original one. And a lot of the times they just don't work at all. And I was thinking about this, and it's like, well, if they don't sell their good chips to people, if nobody can buy them, then how are these people getting them? Ah, they're buying them from the garbage. And it's just one of those things that would be really cool if it could change in our business, but it's not something that I think is going to change anytime soon. But again, as this channel gets more popular and as I get to talk about these issues with more and more people, and as it gets a bigger audience, what I'm hoping happens, I'm hoping that enough people realize this stuff, that again, it is kind of a waste that somebody like me doesn't see it worth the time to replace that chip, because all the places I can buy it from are places that will probably sell me bullshit. Again, good chance I get a chip that works for a little. Good chance I get a chip that doesn't work at all. Very low chance that I get a chip that was from the same pile as the one The same binning as the one that was originally put on the board. So this is where I will call this board repair ended. And again, the whole thing with the no fix, no fee model. The whole thing with the no fix, no fee model. I get a lot of easy ones, but, you know, I spent a half hour on this one, and I ain't getting paid for it. So not much that I can do there. Not much that I can do at all, actually. So that's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something and support the right to repair bill so that people like me can buy these chipsets. That would be so fucking cool. That's it.